Everyone, welcome to day 6 of these 3D asset tutorials. Today we'll be looking into a little bit more theory into the ambient occlusion, and then start looking into transfer maps to generate like an initial kind of normal map. I'll also be explaining the theory behind the normal maps and how it reflects. Now, if you join in this tutorial part way through, since this is day 6, you can view my previous tutorials through my YouTube channel or my Twitter account, or you can go to my website www.andrew3d.com. This website has been updated since. My first four videos is located on the home page, as you can see, and this will explain the basis of asset generation and how I build my assets. And then if you click here, it will take you to the actual page containing all my videos. I'm only keeping 4 videos on the homepage. It's because I like to keep my homepage clutter free, and all my videos will be posted on my tutorials page. Alternatively, all my videos and most recent work will be on Twitter as well as LinkedIn, so do follow me on Twitter. And when you click on Twitter, this is my account at AndrewB3D, and you can see all my recent work there, so do follow me. Now, last time we discussed about ambient occlusion and a good layout texture. I left the video when it was starting to render out the actual ambient occlusion. Ambient occlusion take a while, depending on the setting, to render out and generate into a map. When you actually get the map, it will look something like this. This is what you get. This is the actual general kind of this is the actual texture containing all the light information. This is in a sense that the reason being it looks bright is because when brightening what it is because when you actually go into when you actually generate it, the actual texture, Maya automatically plugs it into a correct slot. So as you can see, I'm struggling to get to the actual material using this menu here. You can always go into your actual material editor and it'll pop you up there, or you can delete your history. Always delete your history. It is vital. Not only does it clear up all the actions that you do and everything like that, it frees up the memory. From this point on, also save another instance of it, so then you can refer back to the U3 stage even when you ever need to. Now, as you see, when I generated the ambient occlusion, it automatically hooked it up into the indecent slot. I normally break it and then hook it up into my color. So go File and locate that folder. It will be under the it'll be under your render data, mint array, light maps, and there it is. Just locate it. This is what it actually looks like on the model. Its true value. as you can see, as I discussed before, you can notice that actual scenes. This is where I was discussing about trying to hide these scenes. On here, the reason there's black lines is because when you locate in the actual folder, it's taken to the very edge of the model, which means it's bleeding outwards slightly. So this black area is bleeding into the scenes just ever so lightly. There is a way to get rid of that. To get rid of it, you simply open up that folder, that file, into Photoshop, like so. Now, what I tend to do, off the back, I also go into the UV editor, select all of the UVs, polygons, and UV snapshot, and save it an appropriate naming convention. So this is salt UV. Pick a certain color. I always keep it to a very bright color that can be seen, and then OK it. What this does, it saves a texture file out to the UVs. So literally, it's the UV edges along here, you know, the line work here. It will save that as a texture map, and locate that. You locate that by going into your actual folder. My documents. It will come under images, and there you have it. So then you go back to your Photoshop folder, file, and drag and click, dragging it into the scene, and it literally imports the UV onto the texture. And then what I do, I then select the magic wand tool, and then select the open space here, and then convert the background into a layer and delete. This deletes all the black background. And then what I do further, I go select, modify, expand, and expand it by 2 pixels. This selects the 2 pixels further into the actual textures, and delete. Now you're probably thinking, why are you deleting some of the texture, some of the ambient occlusion? Well, that's simple. I use a particular software known as Flaming Pear. It's under, if I can find it, here it is, under Filter, Flaming Pear, and Solidify. You locate that by downloading it on the internet. I've forgotten the website, I do apologise, but it's a wonderful software that I've managed being recommended. Someone sent it to me through email, or my uni classmates, and I installed it into Photoshop. It's like a plugin. it allows me to select the open areas here, flaming pair, and solidify and select a really good one like B, for example. And what it does, it solidifies the edges towards each other to prevent bleeding, and that's what you have. To me, that is a really good ambient occlusion map. You don't have no black edges, it prevents bleeding, and it is useful when you're dealing with map generation. Then I would save this out, save as. I'll go back into that salt dispenser folder and save it in your images, like so. And I generally call it salt OCC, meaning salt occlusion, and I save all my folders, my files, into PNG. It's a really good file format. Also, BMB is another good file format. Bitmaps. Bitmaps is a useful format, especially since Substance Designer by nature works off of this format. So it is useful to use that. And save it as a 16. Well, it depends on what depth you want. I always keep mine 24 because there's a lot of data in it. So it depends on what you're after, really. And you go back into that Lambert and reassign it. So go to your salt dispenser, images, and salt occlusion. Now when you click off it, you notice there is no actual scenes. You notice it here slightly, but that's how you get rid of it. Since you've done that, you probably think, okay, I can delete this this file, this actual plane here. And the answer is no, don't. The reason I say don't delete it is when you go into Substance Designer, it too requires a flat surface to generate light maps and bouncing light, and by keeping it there, it will create like a floor where light particles can bounce up onto the model and alter the light and information. Also, what I tend to do, I tend to replicate a simplified version of the actual scene. Like if it's on a table, I import the table. If it's against the wall, I import like a wall, so it replicates it down there near the edge of the actual model, so light can bounce and it alters the light map. Now you can reduce the size of the memory by deleting some of these edges. I keep this as only 10 by 10, and it's not actually going to be in the main scene, so don't fret about that too much, because it's going to be deleted in the later stage as the FBX. Next, I want to talk to you about normal map generation. Normal maps is basically fake lighting. It is like a color map that tells and orders the computer to render your surfaces a certain direction based off that surface, using a green, blue and red value. When you go into Photoshop, when you go into channels, you notice red, green and blue. Now basically these values define the actual normal map. if I remember rightly, each direction has a particular colour. So I always think that red is for right and left, green is for up and down, and blue is for forward and back. Now, I could be incorrect. By memory, it is very hard to remember what colour does what, but I do believe that's what the normal map colours mean. Of course, research into it again. As I always say, research is key, reference is key, because I might be wrong in some of the things that I teach. Everyone else, no one's perfect. There's always going to be mistakes, and no matter who is teaching or providing tutorials, they might make a simple mistake, or they might forgot to explain a certain thing. So bear that in mind. Basically, a normal map fakes light to give the illusion of more detail. So you can get away with increasing a detail on a simple model by increasing on the normal map. It's all to do with what you want to build and what you don't want to build, and what you can get away with using a normal map. This includes a process known as low to high poly. Basically what you're doing, you're taking a low poly like this, and then taking information, light information from a high poly, and then rendering it down to the low poly. Now, this is a good time to stop this particular tutorial. I know it's been quite short today, short but sweet. I just wanted today show you how you can prepare a good initial ambient occlusion map using the map that is generated. And as we went through, we went to create this decent map. Now, this is a bit jerky in places, and I would go ahead and add a little blur to it, not much, and I would do that in Substance Design as well. Now, tomorrow we'll be discussing more into depth with normal maps. I would show you on Photoshop, explain to you how that works in more in depth, and how I transfer maps using this menu here. This is a really good tool, transfer maps. It provides you to transfer information like the normals, the placement, even diffuse and ambient occlusion into another model. In theory, you could, as I showed you before how to render out a map to do ambient occlusion, you could do the same thing but using transfer maps, and sometimes it can be more accurate. So next time I will go through both of these to show you how they can work. Sometimes it can be better, sometimes it may not be. It depends on your workflow. So again, this is the end of the tutorial. Thank you for watching.